So we need to come together and really find how we can really engage these students and getting them excited about manufacturing as a job. But the other thing is, because there's not enough people, and there never will be enough people, we need to look at technology as a solution for the shortage of workers. AI is not going to take your job away, but you'll take the job away of the person who doesn't know how to use AI. You got to have good, accurate data, because garbage in, garbage out. So that's why it's really important that companies really understand their data, so then they can take it to that next step using it with AI.
Welcome back to the Changeover Podcast. I'm Greg Linnemanstons, president of Wider Group. Today we're diving into the trends, challenges, and opportunities that shaped manufacturing in 2024. Joining me is Ann Franz, executive director of the Northeast Wisconsin Manufacturing Alliance, a leader in connecting manufacturers with innovative solutions for workforce development and technology adoption. Together, we'll explore how manufacturers can navigate this dynamic landscape to drive growth and success. We're thrilled to have you on. Can you give us anything else we should know about your background? Personal or professional?
Sure, I've done everything. From selling men's clothing to selling encyclopedias door to door.
Oh my!
About 40 years ago.
You got a medal for that.
So good thing I didn't stay in that profession, or I wouldn't have a job right now. What's been
Wonderful.
really fun is I started the Northeast Wisconsin Manufacturing 18 years ago. We started with 12 companies, and now we have over 400, employing over half of the manufacturing workforce in the 18 counties of Northeast Wisconsin. So
I'll bet it's tough. It's tough for somebody to say no.
I hope so.
Well, you've got to be a part of it if you care about knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so important.
Oh, go ahead.
We're so much better together than trying to do everything in a silo and doing it on your own. So as the old adage says, 2 heads are better than one, and having 400 heads together is definitely better than one.
Oh boy, amen to that. Great place to start. Well, let's start with talking about the manufacturing vitality study. NEWMA just released its 15th annual Northeast Wisconsin Manufacturing Vitality Index. And earlier this year, you released the 2024 Industry 4.0 Talent and Technology Survey. We want to talk about both studies, and if we could start the big picture view from the Vitality Index. The report says manufacturers are expecting increased sales. They're expecting to be hiring more than they have in the past. Lots of data points that we want to talk about. What are the things that you look at that really stand out as important findings?
Well, we started this study because we really wanted to be the voice of manufacturing in the region. And we knew we couldn't just take a few people and say, what do you think? We really needed to have a critical mass. So we partnered with UW-Oshkosh 15 years ago. And we looked at companies that had 25 or more employees plus 3 million or more in revenue. So how many companies do you think, Greg, fit in that metric in Northeast Wisconsin?
800?
Close, 600.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
We use that group, and we have usually around 100 some take the study. This year, unfortunately, with the presidential election, I think there was a little survey fatigue. But we did have 76 companies take the study. And what we learned was, one, they're financially healthy. Yay, 93% said they were financially healthy. 2, 66% expect higher sales in 2025. So the study was taken, I should say, in October and early November. And so it's really asking them, what are your projections now for 2025? And so really strong hiring as well. Over 40% planned in hiring the first and second quarter of 2025. We see that companies are investing in plant modernization. 53% plan on doing that.
Wow, that's a big number.
Which is really great. And so that by 1 out of 2 companies investing in their businesses, we can feel pretty comfortable that they're not going to move to China, right? And so that investment really is going to help us make that business case that, our region is still strong with our manufacturing base.
Yeah. How do the findings, because this is from an annual study, right?
right, the
So how
15th
how do
year.
they compare versus year ago? Are we seeing
Great
more
question.
optimism this year?
Yeah, some good, some bad. So the good is only 58% are having a hard time finding talent, where the year before it was 84%.
Oh,
And
wow.
as a high, it was 91% said they couldn't find the talent they needed. That
Yeah.
was in 2022 and 2023. Now, the bad news is the first year of the study in 2011, only 29% said they couldn't find the talent they need, where this year 58%. So we still have a talent crunch. We
Yeah.
saw same about in terms of investment in modernization. We were a little bit down this year. Only 13% said that they were planning on expansion, but still investment, but not expanding.
Looking at what you measured on the talent pool and people having not as hard a time as it was post-pandemic,
Mhm.
what do you think a good balanced labor market looks like in terms of the concern?
Mhm.
You know, those talking about having a hard time because
Mhm.
um, we certainly don't want that number to go to zero because that means there's not enough demand.
True. You know, the end of the story is we just don't have enough human beings for all the jobs.
So we're
So,
we're st- we're sticking with that. So
right.
Wisconsin, the lights on, come on in, or if you're graduating, please consider staying in Wisconsin.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
Well, we're
yeah,
always going to have that issue. There's more people leaving the job market than entering, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so we're always going to have that. So how do we fit that need? So one, manufacturers have to work together to try to get more students interested in manufacturing jobs, because K-12 is our largest pool of talent that's coming up. So we really need to embrace that group, because the healthcare sector, construction, finance, all these other sectors are trying to reach them as well. So we need
yeah.
to be come together and really find how we can really engage these students and getting them excited about manufacturing as a job. But the other thing is, because there's not enough people and there never will be enough people, we need to look at technology as a solution for the shortage of workers. And that's
Hmm.
why our organization, about 5 years ago, did a concentrated effort on Industry 4.0 and how we can use technology not to replace people, but really to fill the gap for not having enough people.
Well, you mentioned Industry 4.0. Can you just help our audience with your definition of Industry 4.0? What does it mean to you and to the
Mhm.
people that you represent?
Sure. Well, it's the fourth industrial revolution.
Hmm.
So that's what Industry 4.0 is. And what is the next evolution of that, what Industry 4.0 is really connected systems. Our manufacturing companies have all these different systems, and now we're getting them all connected. So that's a big part of Industry 4.0. The
Yeah.
key is we have a lot of data, but we're information poor. And
Ah,
that's why our companies are now just being inundated with all this data, because you have your ERP systems, you have your visualization machines being able to spew out all this data. But how do you make sense of all this? And
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
key, is being able to take that data and make information and making better decisions with that data.
yeah. What do we know today about how Northeast Wisconsin compares to other uh, heavy manufacturing states or regions
Mhm.
in the U.S.? How are we doing compared to some of our peer
I would
geographies?
say we're probably we're behind globally, like Germany. That's where Industry 4.0, that next
Yeah.
evolution came to. But I think we're not far behind in the United States.
Okay.
Our state of Wisconsin actually put together a task force on AI in the workforce. I was appointed by Governor Evers on that. And really, from that task force, I learned that a lot of states are way behind what we're doing and not that far ahead of us. I mean, California probably, of course, would be a little bit further ahead, but we really are starting to lead in this conversation. And I think because we are such a strong manufacturing state, 23% of all our jobs are in manufacturing. That's number two, that's in Northeast Wisconsin. In the state of Wisconsin, it's 16%, which is number 2 in the nation. Indiana is the
Wow.
only state that has a larger percentage of their workforce in manufacturing, and they're like 16.4, and we're 16.2. And when you compare the whole country being 9%, 9 to 10%, depending on the data point, we're really a leader in that. And what's unique about Wisconsin, too, is that we're so diversified in manufacturing sectors. So we're not all auto or all furniture builders.
We're not all paper.
Right. We're not all paper, but paper is important, and we do a wonderful job with paper. But we make a lot of machines. We're machine builders, food manufacturing, printing. Well, it's just so many things. So we're not, tied to just one. So this Industry 4.0, I started hearing about it, reading about it on LinkedIn and other trade publications back in 2019. And I wasn't hearing much from our manufacturers about it. And I received a phone call from Microsoft, and they said, you know what, we like what you're doing. If we gave you some money, what would you do with it?
Nice question.
That's a great call.
I love that.
Wants to call me and ask me. I have ideas. And so I said, I've heard so much about Industry 4.0, reading about it, but not hearing it from our manufacturers themselves. So we contracted with St. Norbert College to do a study of Northeast Wisconsin manufacturers in 2019. We had 104 companies take the study. And what we found out was, wow, they're not very far along in their Industry 4.0 journey. So we really worked on developing an Industry 4.0 task force, working with Insight on Manufacturing magazine to talk about stories about this, to really start the conversation. And wow, we did this study again in 2019. Let's see, we did 2019, 2021, and then 2024. And we really have seen companies really evolve in their Industry 4.0 journey, where they're investing now in cloud computing and analytics and AI and machine learning, the Internet of Things, just increases in automation and looking at predictive maintenance and process improvements. So we're really seeing companies understand the importance. But with those connective systems, cybersecurity is really important. So number one was what they were investing in was cybersecurity. Then in cloud computing, machine digital integration, industrial IoT, automation. And what was really cool is in 2021, generative AI was not a thing. So that really came out when ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. So we had
changed everything.
Yep. So we had to add to this study, where are you in terms of generative AI? There was AI, especially machine learning, about generative AI. So we added that in the 2024 study. And so that was another investment that asking them in 2019, they didn't even know what generative AI it was. And now 67% plan on investing in it.
Interesting. I'll just add an observation. This year at Manufacturing First in October, there was a session on generative AI in manufacturing. And I sat in on that, and I was blown away by, these were two instructors from tech colleges talking about the advice and insights and even plans that they're working with manufacturers. And so my takeaway from that is you're either doing it or you're behind, because there are a lot of them leaning forward fast. And it sounds like if they've made a start with the Internet of Things, the industrial Internet of Things, then they've already got some of the foundation they need to use AI. That if their machines are talking to each other, they're collecting data, they're using the data, the AI is using the data to do something. And that was I'm a non-manufacturing guy sitting in the audience going, this makes a lot of sense. Exciting times.
You can't have AI without data. And the data needs to be, you got to have good, accurate data, because garbage in, garbage out. So that's why it's really important that companies really understand their data so then they can take it to that next step using it with AI.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the data points that I saw in preparing for this is that something like half of manufacturers responding say they're going to either hold steady or increase on their Industry 4.0 investments in the next 3 years. How do you see this modernization helping? You mentioned earlier addressing the labor shortage through automation, AI, through different investments we can make.
Right. It's so critical because, again, we don't have enough people. So
Yeah.
investing in this really is going to make an impact. Plus, companies are always looking at process improvements and utilizing these newest technologies is giving them the upper hand and that's why I think our companies aren't afraid to share and learn from each other because they're not competing just with the guy down the street, but globally. And so if we win and win in Wisconsin, there's enough pieces of pie for all our Northeast Wisconsin manufacturers to be able to do very well because they truly are competing globally. So let's work together.
Yeah. Yeah. When you think about the priorities, you mentioned cybersecurity and cloud computing. Those are things that, I mean, we don't need to encourage anybody to invest in cybersecurity because they can feel it. They know the risk, and you got really high numbers of people who are saying they're taking action. What are the things that are holding people back? We got less than 0.5% actually using some AI in their operations today. What do you see holding manufacturers back from some of the things that we can look at and say, well, they need to be there, they need to do it?
I think knowledge, and I think one of the issues is they're so busy making the widget, they don't have time to do the investment of the knowledge learning. And with that being said, you don't know what you don't know. And with a shortage of labor, there usually, not a lot of margin for additional learning. And so that's why our organization has been doing a training program on data analytics for the last 4 years. And we've had over 600 of our member employees take our data analytics class. We are just about finishing up with the 9th cohort. And I had 100 people register within 2 days.
Wow.
And the first time we offered it, we had, I think, about 40 the first time. And so I think people are starting to understand that, wow, we want to get here, but we can't get here until we understand the data.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that has been really huge. And that's like our AI class. A lot of, again, this wasn't even a conversation 3 years ago. And so we have had over half of our manufacturers say that they are looking at AI and think they're going to be using it. But guess what? 100% are going to be using it. They just don't know it yet because they don't know what they don't know. And that's why we started an AI training a year ago, and we've had over 500 member employees take that training in just 1 year.
Oh, that's really encouraging. One of the things that we hear, I've heard this from lots of different directions when people talk about the impact of AI on labor and on businesses. And it's we shouldn't be worried about AI taking people's jobs. Companies who use AI take jobs from companies who don't, because they'll be more productive, more efficient. Their people will probably enjoy their work more because they'll be more productive.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I also heard at that governor's special task force on AI in the workforce is AI is not going to take your job away, but you'll take the job away of the person who doesn't know how to use AI.
Yeah,
And the other thing that I heard too was AI is the next internet. We can look at some big things that have happened in technology over our lifetime and like I said, I sold encyclopedias door to door. Needless to say, the internet killed the encyclopedia salesperson. And so
yes,
AI is going to be the next internet. So if you think of how the
yeah.
internet impacts your life every single day, that's what AI is going to be in the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, somebody told me, or maybe I read this somewhere, that ChatGPT got to 100 million users faster than anything in the history of the human race.
Yes,
That
I heard the
it took
same.
it took 30 days and it exploded. The whole globe was using it. Just amazing.
It is.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about from I think the combination of both of the reports that we've been talking about is this intersection between technology adoption and workforce development. We've talked about some of that already. When you think of the way NEWMA helps businesses and the ways companies are pivoting, what do you see as things that people should be paying attention to?
I think one of the key things is, we heard that companies are going to be hiring like project managers and AI specialists, but they're also looking at having their current workforce be upskilled in those areas. And so these trainings I was sharing with you are really mostly middle and upper management are taking them because they know, hey, I may be a supply chain manager, but I need to have data analytics experience. So it's not just hiring people outside and bringing them in. That's going to be some of that, but there's also going to be saying, hey, my current staff needs to upskill in data analytics, project management, AI, because we're not just going to have people who only do this one thing. We're going to be expected to do a lot of things. So that's huge. I think another interesting thing with technology is we're going to do things differently using technology, using VR equipment to do training and safety.
And servicing. I was talking to a manufacturer that sells integrated manufacturing and packaging lines, and they're talking about using VR to have their service techs virtually walk through a line, and have somebody on the customer end walking virtually with them, and so they don't have to get on a plane. They don't have to spend a day or two out of the office to serve that customer. They can serve them virtually right from the valley, which when you talk about the productivity increase.
My goodness.
And that's an important business line for most manufacturers is the servicing of the stuff they're selling.
Exactly. And
so that's going to grow.
Yeah, and maybe for a few years that person's going to want to be out and seeing the world, but sooner or later they're going to probably have children, and it's not going to be that easy, leaving. And that's one area that service technicians, industrial maintenance technicians are some of the hardest positions to fill.
Yes.
In part because if you have to travel a lot, that's a big ask.
Yeah.
And so using that technology, I know other companies using that technology as well, has really made a huge impact. Sometimes they do have to have that service technician go in person, but they're able to do more and more mitigation of those small things that they don't have to do that. And then, you're just thinking, how do young people want to learn, and training? They're having VR equipment at home playing, the games, right? Gaming. And so if you can give them an opportunity to do some of the training on safety as a gaming thing, you're going to have a lot more probably integration of them really engaging in it and learning well.
Yeah.
And then also when I first started this position, a big goal was to get more people to be welders. There was a huge shortage of welders. And now we have robotic welders. Now we still need welders, but we need also people to understand if that robot is doing the right thing because they understand welding, right?
Right.
And so it's amazing how technology is integrating and helping us with the workforce shortage.
Yeah. When you look to the future, I know that there's pressure on traditional roles like machinist positions. They're always going to be hard because it takes so much training and experience to be good. But when you think about emerging roles in the industrial sector, what are you seeing with the most explosive growth?
I agree with you. Machining is always the huge one. In fact, our recent study for every year, it's either machinist or general labor 1 and 2. They interchange.
I think it was machinist this time.
It was.
What made me think about that. Yeah.
So, that's a huge huge thing. And so that's always going to be a big problem. But we are going to have occupations that we haven't even thought existed. And that's why it's important for industry to be working with faculty in these colleges, because it takes a long time to start a new degree program. And so what we do is this past May, we brought together faculty from all over Wisconsin and Upper Michigan to talk about the study results and how that's going to impact what are those future careers. Again, AI specialists, that wasn't even on the map.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we didn't have that.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
And that's like from the previous studies, St. Norbert now offers a cybersecurity as well as UW Green Bay degrees. Data analytics in 2019, we saw in this study being such a huge need in all areas of a manufacturing company.
Mm-hmm.
And so Northeast Wisconsin Technical College now has an associate degree in data analytics. But you have to have good data and you have to have industry share what they need. And then you have to have the higher education connect with industry to then be able to create those training programs that are going to meet the needs 3-5 years down the road. But it takes time.
And how do you, that was a perfect lead in, Ann, how do you do the planning for how we get to where we want to be the next time we do this study, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 years? How do you approach the plans that we need to put in place as a region?
It's relationships. It's not just pointing our finger saying, you should do this, higher education, you should do this. It's holding out your hand in partnership and saying, let's have a continual conversation. So our Industry 4.0 task force are industry members, but colleges from Michigan Tech to our UW system, to our technical college systems, as well as UW Stout. It's really bringing these people together to talk about this. They were the ones who helped create the study. So that way we were getting real words that industry would resonate with and that colleges would
understand. They wrote the
questions. Right, exactly.
That's good.
So that's one area. Another area that we worked on was, we know that everything you think of, you touch a computer every day, either your phone, which is now a computer, right?
Yep.
But there's a lot of people that don't have digital literacy. So we were fortunate a couple of years ago, we received a grant from Microsoft again to work in partnership with Goodwill Industries to offer a digital literacy training program to give people that basic knowledge of a mouse is not just an animal you don't want in your house. What is a good
Pretty
password,
basic.
right? Very basic, because it's going to impact everything. We did a study over 5 years ago where we wanted people to go online to answer the questions. It was a retired worker study. And many companies said, my aging workers don't know how to use a computer. We have to do it paper and pencil. So I had hundreds of people filling out paper documents. We need to have everyone, because you're going to be left behind if you do not have the ability to do basic computer skills.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
what's,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that it's not just higher education, but it's K-12 too. We need to educate K-12 so they know what are those future jobs too. And that's why we in part do a careers magazine called The All-Stars, where we have companies nominate their employees between the ages of 18 and 35. And then we spotlight them in a careers magazine. We've been 25,000 copies. And then the online version has 3-minute videos of each person talking about their career. Because who best to talk about technology and what they like about their job than the people who really do these jobs? And so now we have almost 200 career videos of local people talking about the great companies here and their awesome jobs.
Nice. So what's your message to manufacturers today about if they view themselves as a laggard, if they feel like they're falling behind and they're not sure what strategies they need to keep themselves?
There's help out there.
Pardon me?
There's help out there for you. Don't try to do it all yourself. And our organization, plus there's different groups like WMEP, for example, that can help them in the process. The technical colleges offer customized training to help upskill. There's lots and lots of resources, but sometimes they just don't know where to go. And I believe that our organization is one of those go-to places. You don't have to know it all. A lot of times they're like, I don't even know where to begin. We can help. And
So
really
you can
bring
act,
together-
so you can
Most
act like a concierge for them
most
and
definitely.
direct them to the right place to get the resources or the direction that they need.
For example, we had a company say, hey, I really want to improve in our safety practices. We have a safety task force. And do you know of like somebody I could go to just to start the path? And I know people. I always say I'm nobody, but I know a lot of somebodies. And there's such a great network of people that are willing to help. And we can be that conduit to get you connected.
Goes back to what you started off by saying, we're smarter together.
Yes.
We're smarter, we can make more progress together. And if anybody's feeling vulnerable or behind, all they need to do is reach out and they'll be started.
Most definitely.
Yeah, good message.
There's a old African proverb that says, if you want to go far, go alone. But if you want to go fast, go together. No, if you want to go fast. Yeah, you want to,
Go alone.
You want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that's the key, is we can do so much more together. Stop trying to be the Lone Ranger, and you got enough on your plate.
So Ann, as we wrap up here, what would be the concrete steps that you would recommend anybody who's feeling like they're falling behind or just wants to pick up their pace of advancing in this rapidly changing world? What would you suggest?
Really get involved with, hopefully, our organization. But we have so many resources and so many connections to who you need to connect with. And so we have our Industry 4.0 task force that will really connect you to practitioners and also educators. Be part of the solution. Come together with our task force for learning and then being able to implement that because you're learning from others too. We also really value the opportunity to hear the voice of industry. And by coming to our events, you're also hearing what others are thinking. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We already have people that have the wheel and they're willing to share. I think one of the keys that we're finding from so many companies is they don't know what they don't know. And so on our website, check out the study, because we put down what are the other companies investing in. For example, over 30% are investing in process monitoring, robotic vision systems, mobile user interfaces. You can learn from the study that's on our website exactly where companies are investing. And that's where I would go first in terms of Industry 4.0. So those are just a few of the things that we have in terms of if people are looking at really going on the journey of Industry 4.0, we can help you get there.
It sounds to me like no manufacturer in Wisconsin, especially Northeast Wisconsin, should feel like they have to go it alone or feel like it's beyond their ability to make the progress they need to succeed.
Correct. We are so much better together. And that's why at the beginning I shared with you, two heads are better than one. Well, we have over 400 companies that are members. So 400 heads are much better than one. So come together. I would love to have a conversation with companies to show them how we can help them in their Industry 4.0 journey, as well as their talent journey.
Do you hear that, everybody? Reach out to Ann, reach out to NEWMA. You'll be in a better place if you do that. Your team will appreciate it, and you'll sleep better. And thank you so much for being a part of the Changeover. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope we can do this again in 25. Let's circle that on our calendars.
Sounds great. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ann.
Thanks for joining us on the Changeover Podcast. Remember to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Wider.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let us know what you'd like to hear about next time by messaging Wider Group on social media. Thanks for watching.